Cincinnati's ready for the Big 12. It was time for them.
I am fired up.
It's a blessing to be able to be in this league with y'all, putting on for UC.
Cincinnati, a basketball school for...
And there he goes. Touchdown, Bearcats!
Raquama again, another slam inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. We have a very, very special guest, returning guest of the show. I would call him a friend of mine, a UC basketball legend, current color commentator on 700 WLW for UC basketball, alongside Dan Hoard. We have the man himself, Terry Nelson. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. And you also add, I'm back to ESPN Plus now, back on TV as well.
Back on TV, that is good to hear. I'm sure, is that just for Bearcats basketball games now that we're in the Big 12?
Yeah, so I got the first 13 games on TV, and I think we'll go with Steve Logan will be my replacement on radio for those 13 games. And then once we start hitting conference, the first of the year, I'm back with Dan. We're hitting the road, traveling again. The gang is back together. But, yeah, so I kind of missed the TV side of it because I used to do it with Fox Sports Ohio before ESPN Plus took over. It's an awesome time.
That's I'm pretty in tune for everything happening around UC athletics, football, basketball, what have you, and I've not heard that yet. So I don't know. Hopefully,
you're the first in the know now. See,
I'm in the know. I hope maybe some listeners or some breaking news for them there. So that's right. We're hot off the start here, man. Right off the jump.
Well, you're gonna be entertained.
Absolutely. So, Terry, this is the GoBeercats podcast, of course. So to help with that entertainment, before we get too far into everything, it is time for a beer. So
how come you didn't, shoot some of those beers over to me?
I apologize. I do have to get better at that. It's in season here from Taft's Brewing, their Frisch's Pumpkin Pie Ale.
Oh, my Lord.
So I will be drinking that as we talk here this evening. Here's a look at it. Threw it in the Cincy light glass. And it is, of course, brought to us by the Delhi Liquor Store. They have you covered not only with a great beer selection, with new beer drops every day, but everything you need for a good tailgate or party, wine, liquor, beer, cigars. They have you covered no matter what. So cheers. I'm sorry I didn't give you the heads up.
Man, I just put an APB out to get me a beer so we can toast.
I got you.
I'm waiting for that door behind me to pop open with some
delivery service. That's where it is. While we're waiting on that, Terry, let's kind of jump into it here. We got questions, some that I thought of, some Bearcats fans I opened it up to. I told them you'd be on. And on our Discord that we have, they threw out some questions as well. So we got a wide variety of topics to jump into Bearcats basketball here. We are very close to the season getting underway. But, right from the jump here, give me your reaction to the new Jordan uniforms.
Come on, man. This has been a long time waiting. We're such a fashion-driven nation. Everything comes in trends. Everything. Appreciate it. See, now we can toast, brother.
There we go.
I had to go with the traditional Miller Lite. But everything comes around in cycles. And the fact that we have Jordan brand back, the material, Adidas was good. Under Armour, you got a lot of gear. Shoes were a little different, though. They kind of hurt your feet, and I need something. I don't want to be the guy that's walking around with those 5-inch soles that you kind of walking gingerly because you kind of need them, but I kind of need them, So, but Nike's have been top quality from whenever, since the beginning, and then the Jordan brand, the styles, the colors. I mean, it's funny when guys are not wearing the team issued shoes, they're wearing Jordan.
Yeah.
They're wearing Jordans, and today's society, my sons, my daughters, they're talking about the Jordan 9, the Jordan 12, the Jordan. I don't know none of that. All I know is that when I get a swag bag full of Jordan, I'll be happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love them. I think I thought it was such an easy slam dunk, if you will, for them to go back to, the blocks down the side and everything. The cut of the sleeve is a little bit different, a little more updated to today's time. I can respect that, but I did used to love that longer, thicker cut off sleeve back in the day as well. But I have no complaints for the New Jersey. Thought they did great. I'm anxious to see what other they released like the black ones, right? So like, what are the white ones going to look like? Will there be a red one, or what alternatives? Definitely looking forward.
You're going to see a ton of different variations, which is going to be exciting, because anytime you have a new brand, you want to get as many jerseys in the hands of the consumers that you can, because the average person who bought one jersey will buy 5 if he had 5 of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, think about it. You'll have a retro day. You may have a pink day. You whatever day you're going to have, especially going into the Big 12, we'll just create stuff to keep people coming and making them enthusiastic about who we're about to play. So you'll see different jerseys. I mean, you'll see the average fans walking around with, you're going to have on your wall 6 or 7 different jerseys, probably from this year, which would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put one on that skeleton.
Yeah, I know, right? My wife let me. I took that downstairs. She's like, "What are you doing with that? Our Halloween decorations?" I was like, "I'm going to put it in the background tonight." She's like, "You better bring that back upstairs." So, yeah, I only have the white Lenny Stokes jersey, number 13, in the Jordan brand. That's the only Bearcats jersey I really have. So I'm looking forward to adding some more basketball ones to the collection, as we got the new ones coming out there. Beyond that, this is year 3 for Wes Miller. It has been a minute since the Bearcats have been to the big dance in March. We are in a new conference. We're kind of seeing how that's shaking out on the football field, although way different circumstances. But with the news of Aziz Bandango and Jamil Reynolds being denied their waiver, and we're in the process of trying to get that fixed. I think Coach Miller's talked about that at Big 12 Media Days. He talked about that at his press conference, I think maybe even earlier today. Right. Is there anything that you have heard as far as what the strategy is going forward with those two, or with the team maybe now maybe not being able to get those guys back? Or
the NCAA laid out the strategy, and we followed the strategy to a T, and they said no. So the hypocrisy of it all is for you to say, okay, for double transfers, you got to go through mental health training. You got to go through a series of steps. And to the letter, the Bearcats took off their own website the series of steps that you must take, follow them to the T. Bob Mangine wrote the letter of recommendation. The NCAA adopted a medical board now that they have, submitted it doctor to a panel of doctors. Look at this information. This is real life situations. It's not like we're just putting together something. This is real mental health issues. They went and got training. They're continuing to get training. We did all this stuff, and the NCAA comes back, a panel of doctors saying no, which is, if those panel of doctors didn't have the backing of the NCAA, they would have said yes because they didn't want to get sued. But having a backing of the NCAA doesn't really care. They have tons of lawsuits pending. So what they do is they just keep prolonging it because they're trying to discourage double transfers. And so if you can get the appeal that's going on right now, if they say we'll take a look at it in 6 months or whatever, then you should be able to sue and get an injunction to say these guys are going to be eligible until the hearing is set so we can hear it. Because the NCAA, they sit in their office, they smoke cigars, they sit around a table with brandy, and they talk about how they can exert power that they are losing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
to
hemorrhaging for sure.
Yeah, they are. They're losing that power. And so for them to just not – a coach can take 2 different jobs in the span of 5 years and not be penalized for it. The school that he left is not penalized. The school he's going to is not penalized. But if a player in 5 years transfers twice, he's penalized. So Yes, the player can now get NIL money. Yes, the player gets a one-time transfer waiver. But if that coach leaves, then the player should be able to leave. You should open the door up and say, okay. And that will eliminate some of the coaches leaving, because you're still saying players, yes, your coach left. There's circumstances coming in. Nobody knows the guy that's coming in. He wants his own people. He wants to recruit, especially now that you can go to the portal and pick your own team. It's like, okay, if I have an opportunity to leave and go somewhere else that's a better situation for me, what's holding it back? It's my education.
Yeah. So, that's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. I know a lot of Bearcats fans are definitely in tune and trying to monitor that as the season is getting ready to start here, and hopefully that is resolved sooner than later. Before we jump into like the returning players, the new faces and everything, we do have a small shakeup on the coaching staff, where Chris Lepore, friend of the show, decided to leave coaching and moved on, and I think he's in a good situation and everything. But then Coach Miller brought in a guy who has 5 seasons of experience as a head coach, Josh Leffler. I'm going to say, if that's how you pronounce his last name. He was previously the head coach at Johns Hopkins. He was 114 and 27 there, so it sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. Have you interacted with Josh and what he brings to the coaching staff now?
He's a bundle of energy, and
Okay.
he's a guy that can run a good practice. When you got you got Andre Morgan, who is very good at communicating with the players. Like, they all have their strengths, the coaching staff. And Andre Morgan is a guy that he talks real to the players. He doesn't, sugarcoat the language that he's talking when he's trying to explain something to guys. And then you look at Chad Dollar. Chad is steady. Chad is like your uncle. You can come to him all the time. He may yell at you every once in a while. He may bark at you, but he is as solid as they come. Josh is a little different. Josh reminds me of John Lawyer when I played. He's the guy that's going to run your practice, get guys in their spots, do the majority of your scout, get stuff where it needs to be. Having the scout team and the second unit really pose a formidable challenge against your first team. You want your practice to be wars, so the games are easy. And one of the things that he brings as a successful college coach is strategy. You just don't want – I know a lot of times when you're scrimmaging each other, like I just left practice today and they were scrimmaging. When you're scrimmaging each other, you want to see a tightly contested scrimmage. You don't want to see one blow away from the other. You want to see tightly contested. At the same time, you want to make sure that the guys that you haven't been personally looking at all the time and coaching all the time, that they're ready. And all your staff, especially with Josh is a guy that he gets those guys ready, gets them in the positions where they need to be. So when they're called upon, this is a deep team. So when they're called upon, they're ready to go in.
You bring up the deep team. You being at practice just this evening from when we're recording this, and it is sort of the just kind of par for the course now, where there's a lot of turnover in college basketball. With 4, 5, 6 guys coming in new every year, with between the freshman recruits and working the transfer portal. It's another. UC is no example there. We have Dan Skillings, Big Vic Locken, Josh Reed, John Newman III, ODO, and Sage Tolentino back as the sort of familiar faces that we might know. But then there's, of course, a handful of new players. If we start out with the transfers first, we're talking Day Thomas, CJ Frederick, Seamus Lukosius. What did you see even in tonight's practice, or what have you heard from the offseason so far about those 3 newcomers that we know for sure will be playing?
Well, that's going to make up your backcourt. So we moved Seamus a lot to the point guard, so he's been practicing a lot with point guard. So I want you to think about this. Day Thomas has blow-by speed. He'll get the rebound, and he'll beat everybody down the floor and lay up. And if you're not looking, he will dunk on your head. I mean, he's explosive. He has herky-jerky movements with the basketball. He'll go at you full speed, get you backing up on skates, pull back dribble, behind the back, shoot it, fade away, like he did that today in the scrimmage. I'm looking at Dan Hoard, who's next to me doing notes. I'm like, you see that? Like, it's been a while since we had guards that can that can not just do step back moves and, loosen you up like David DeJulius do, but actually dunk to you, go down in the hole, draw contact. And then when you look at Jizzle James, Jizzle uses his body a lot. Like, he's going to go to the free throw line a heck of a lot because he likes to get into you, bang those shoulders of his. He's lost, 10 pounds. He was heavier coming out of high school. And you imagine him in high school when you watch him play, man, he's got a mature game. The coach is trying to get him more away from the mid-range and get him more in the three-point line. But he's so comfortable in the paint and how he attacks the rim. He makes the guards, he'll be going baseline, he'll put up in the air, and the bigs will be waiting to swat it, and he'll scoop it underneath their arms. It'll have some funky spin, hit the backboard, and go in, like a Kyrie Irving type deal. And he's very, very good at that. So he gets to the hole a lot. He'll get to the free throw line a lot. So both of those guys attack the basket. CMOS is different because I call him Baby Luka.
Okay.
You can't speed him up. He plays at his own pace, but he's so heady and head smart. He knows how to use shot fakes and angles. He's not a guy that's going to dunk on you. He won't wow you with his explosiveness. He will wow you with the fact that he's already 2 moves ahead of you by the time he has the ball in his hand. It's like he's playing chess and you're playing checkers. So how he attacks the basket with his floater, and then sometimes those floaters are lob passes for the, Aziz and all the other bigs down there dunking the basketball. How he shoots the three, how he uses suspend dribbles to make you think he's going to pull up for a jump shot, and all of a sudden you close out on him, and all of a sudden he quick dribbles and goes past you, makes you commit, and he dumps it to a kick-out shooter. Like, it's just they have 3 different styles. But for the first time in a long time, the 3-headed monster at the guard position is solidified.
Some kind of question, like the experience of the guards, Day coming from JUCO, Jizzle, incoming freshman, and then maybe if we're using Lukosius, maybe not doesn't have like that elite speed, although can play the point forward. Is that are we thin at that position this year? Is that something that you think they're going to be able to handle starting in Big 12 play? It seems you got to have elite guards at this level.
Well, that's the reason they start putting CMOS at 1. You got to start. Okay. You got to bring the other one in because the Big 12 is a different animal, and you got 2 guards. One's a JUCO, one's a high school guys. It's all new to them, and CMOS is the only proven one. Averaged 10 and 6 at Butler last year, so he's very proven. But you want different looks because when they play together, when Jizzle and Day play together, they're dynamic. They feed off each other very well, and they attack. They remind you of the Houston guards, how they're aggressive defensively, and they shoot the passing lanes. They try to get steals. So there's going to be times where you may even see all 3 of them on the court at once. Very few times because you got to have 1 point guard coming in to sub in. But you'll see at least 2 of those guys on the floor because they create so well for each other, and you've been seeing it going over there. But, CMOS is just different. To watch those guys play, knowing that we were thin, and that was a major concern coming into camp. Like, if we get in foul trouble, we're in trouble because we don't have another 3rd guard. But then you saw the creativity and ball handling of CMOS. You're like, wait a minute, he can handle some point forward. So as he started putting them in there was no drop off. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he gets guys where they need to be.
Very nice. One guy that I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on is John Newman III, who set out last year with an injury. Before that, he seemed to be the number 1 or the go-to defensive player to lock up the other team's best guy. What kind of offseason has he had? Has he been getting like full minutes at practice, or are they limiting that in any way as precautions? And can we see that those like intense, crazy eyes ready to lock up whoever comes his way?
Yeah, so he's been getting full minutes in practice. When it comes to conditioning and at the end of practice, running sprints and stuff, he may do bicycle. He may do something to save his legs a little bit. But he reminds me of the dog that you have to put away when company comes over because it's not the dog you play with.
Okay.
You gotta
Okay.
you can put that dog away because he's going straight to bite something, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times West has to save him from himself because he only plays one way. Balls out hard, and he's going when he goes after rebound, he slings elbows, he grabs it out of guys' hands, rips it like today. He grabbed the ball goes up, it's on the rim. You had two bigs going for it. He jumps baseline, snatches the ball away. He's swinging elbows, didn't hit anybody, thank God. But he takes a dribble back out, kicks it out, relocates to the three-point line. They give it right back to him. He knocks down a three. And then he's picking up full court. He plays if he knows in the Wes Miller system that you're going to play 3 minutes at a time and come out before somebody else. He knows at the end of those 3 minutes, he's going to be exhausted because he's going to give you everything. And that's how Wes wants. He wants every player, no matter if you're in for a minute at a time, 3 minutes at a time, or you play an entire media timeout, which is rare. He wants you giving it balls out so that the next person who comes in benefits from you and the work that you did, tiring out the person that you were playing against. He wants a guy that's going to pick you up full court, play tough, box out strong, run to the three-point line, get to your spot. When you attack downhill, go downhill, make it work for everybody else, create mismatches. Like he wants you cerebral, but he wants you doing it at a full speed clip. He doesn't like jogging. He doesn't like you'll see more and more this year. I think when Mick Cronin's best teams he had when they had Gary Clark, they won 30 games, 31 games. I think they averaged 76 points per game, which was the most of the Mick Cronin era. This team could very well average in the about 80 points per game. And they're going to have to. They're going to have to play fast. Every time the ball goes in the basket, every time they get a missed shot, everybody is yelling, go, go, like speed, speed. They want to play like the old Loyola Marymount back in the 90s with Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball, where when that ball comes out, it is like Phoenix with Nash. 7 seconds, they want a shot up. If they can get a good look and beat you down before you can set your zone up, that's how they want to play.
Do you think is that a Miller like calling card? Is that something that we're seeing because the roster is pretty much full of his guys or his recruits now outside of Vic? But I think we can all agree that Vic Locken's a pretty damn good basketball player so far. Is that something that we're seeing because of the roster full of Miller guys now, or are there other things that we might see because of that this year as well?
Very good question. Yes, it is a roster full of his own guys, but that's how he wants to play. Like he wants to. If you're selling a guy, when you walk in that gym, and you are, a recruit, and you look down and you see like, damn, we are deep, and you're asking yourself, how am I going to get in the game when we're literally 11, 12 deep? Well, you're going to get in the games because they're going to pick up full court. They're going to play fast. They're going to constantly come at you in waves. They're going to put pressure on you. Some people are going to get in foul trouble. That you got to jump right in. Hopefully, you're just tired when you come out. But because of the aggression that they're playing with, you're going to be in foul trouble. You're going to have some. You're going to get some ticky-tack fouls. There's some new rule changes that's going to create a lot more fouls with the block charge, which I'll get into after we talk about this. But the freedom that he gives those guys of going out there and shooting and running the floor and mastering what they do in the positions. Like when he tells you to run down and seal. And if you get that ball down there, he's saying, go to work. Just go to work. Now, if they double team you, find the shooters, get backside, rebound. But he is telling everybody to be the specialist at what they do, be the best at what you do.
You bring up the rules changes, the block charge type of thing. I mean, I can't think of anyone better to ask than yourself about those rule changes. So, what's your thoughts there? How do you think it affects this team or college basketball in general?
You're going to see more frustrated fans that don't understand because they're not going to explain it to you.
Yeah.
But this year, the block charge is more in favor of the block. So when guys are stepping outside that lane, even though they're outside that lane, if the driver's foot has left the ground, if that pivot foot, once the pivot foot leaves the ground and you slide over, automatic block. You could be outside the circle. Automatic block. So now if the pivot foot's still on the ground and he runs you over like that could be a charge. But it's going to.
So is it so you're planted and like you're throwing a shoulder into them? That's what they're looking for a charge. But if you're jumping like up for a layup, you're 2 feet in the air. That's that's supposed to be a block this year.
They're eliminating the injuries. They're trying to eliminate the injuries. So they're going to legislate the block out of the game around the rim. You dumping the shoulder when you're dribbling the basketball, that's different. They're going to call that. But as you're attacking the basket and you got that weak side defender slides in to help, it's going to be automatic block. I mean, we saw today in the scrimmage today, you thought guys were there. They were in perfect position, block. And you have to explain it to them, and then you have to, tell the guys. And so the guys are like, okay. So you tell them early enough so they can make the mental adjustment, because if they don't know, they're going to be swayed by the emotions of the fans. The fans are going to be getting on the ref, you suck, ref, and they think it's the whole nine because the guy looks like he was there. But they're trying to make sure that when guys go up to dunk or guys go up for a layup and some weak side defender slides over there and you cartwheel over the guy and break your wrist or something, and they're saying no because some of our star players got hurt last year. Some of the NBA players got hurt on that, and they're just trying to get rid of it altogether to make the game more wide open to attack the basket, to make scoring go up and make it more appeasing to fans.
I cannot wait until the fan reaction on Twitter and other social media to those calls. I think we'll have some priceless reactions there, as well as the fans in the stadium, as you said here. Tell me, as we're getting into like the schedule, we're looking down. We're at Xavier this year. We have the Dayton game downtown. Maybe the only other one you might be looking forward to is Georgia Tech. Because I say that because it seems like the non-con schedule is pretty light this year, and Coach Miller is he's talked to that on several occasions about his strategy with that, with moving into the best basketball conference in college basketball. Do you think this is the right strategy? Do you think there's enough tests early, or
well, don't underestimate Detroit Mercy is a good team. They don't have the son. You don't have Antoine Davis there, who led the nation in scoring last year. He graduated. Yep. Northern Kentucky beat us last year.
Oh, God.
So the matchup zone. So that's a game that's circled on there. Damon Stoudemire being the new coach at Georgia Tech, an ACC school. So, and then we play at Howard. Like, when's the last time that you saw a UC team go on the road to an HBCU school and play on their gym, in Washington, D.C., actually, So it's like, okay, I'll take this schedule to get us ready. Bryant's a good program. Dayton's a good program. So, Merrimack College, these are wins that you're going to try to, go after in Stetson and Evansville to try to pad your wins. You got to get enough wins because the Big 12 is a gauntlet. You got to win your home games. The first time that we go to Kansas, we play Kansas, it's in Kansas. We're only playing once this year. They're saying, no, come play the champs. Come to our gym. So they're saying all the big schools. So we have one of those schedules where I used to wonder about West Virginia. I'm like, man, Hugs, you didn't schedule anybody other than the ESPN mandated, Big 12, Big 10, ACC challenge games. It's like, man, you're playing these guys back when several years ago when Cronin used to play, it'd be 15-0, 15-1 going into conference play before. I'm like, man, they're not planning about it. Well, you kind of understand the strategy behind it because you can have the toughest schedule in the country and give the fans what they want and then be fired in 2 years because you don't get enough wins. So, no, they're going to have plenty of big games. You want to, especially with a bunch of new players, you want to have enough games where you can put them in, let them run against – because the teams that they're playing, you may not have heard the names of these teams, but they're tops in their conference. He won't play a team that's the last place team in a conference because you get nothing out of it. You might as well just scrimmage yourself. So it may be a MEAC school, but that team is predicted to win the MEAC. You look at Northern Kentucky. They're chosen as preseason favorites to win the conference this year, as they were preseason favorites to co-win it last year. So Georgia Tech is going to be an up and coming team with the NIL, with being able to go to the portal and grab talent. You can now go from last place in the conference to be in first place. Look at Miami football. I mean, good God, nobody thought they would go in there and they got one loss on the season right now. Well, they loaded up. They got new team and no talent in there, and they're getting it done.
A guy that's shown flashes last year as a freshman of getting it done. I think Dan Skilling is who I'm talking about here. He, as far as fans go, I think he might have the highest expectations to take that leap his sophomore year. There's unofficial numbers coming out from the super secret scrimmage with Maryland, where I think he had 12 or 14 points. But he hasn't really played organized basketball that long. As much as you would think a major D1 player would. What are some realistic expectations for that jump for Dan Skillings? Because I feel as though fans' expectations right now are really high for Dan.
He's a bucket getter, and so he had 5 threes today in the scrimmage. So he can shoot the three, is getting better, but his ability to create in the paint, he is a tremendous. He reminds me. When I say this, you don't want to overtake what I'm saying, but Kobe Bryant was the best. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan were the best baseline players I've ever seen. They can tiptoe on the baseline. They can beat a guy around the baseline. They can do all kind of stuff with angles and layups and tricks and like that. Dan Skillings is a tremendous baseline player, and if you don't box him out, he's coming over there and he's tip dunking on you. He can grab an offensive rebound. He's got a floater now. He's trying to finish around the basket. He gets out on the fast break, and he wants the ball in the fast break because he has the ability to maneuver going full speed around the guy who is, now that you get the new charge rule, he got the ability to catch that ball and attack the basket, getting and ones and finishing. He's a dynamic player. Now, as the game continues to slow down for him, because it looks like he has taken a big leap from freshman to sophomore, because the coach is telling him, you got to be aggressive. Like, you're one of the ones. You got to be, you got to be aggressive. We got 2 guys that so far has gotten the green light. I don't know if you want to know who.
Of course.
I bet you couldn't guess in 20 years who's got the green light.
I mean, I'm going to say we're talking about Dan, so he's one.
Nope.
No, the 2 guys that has the green light. Ah, man.
Every time they touch it, if they're open, they better shoot it.
CJ Frederick.
CJ Frederick is one.
Yeah, he has the numbers to back that up. So the other guy must be way out there. Is it Vic?
CJ Anthony.
CJ Anthony. Did not guess that at all.
Yeah, so he had the biggest leap. So they chart every shot from end of school year, when they're in their shooting drills, when they're doing it all. They got 10 managers. And they chart every shot you've taken. CJ, over the course of at the end of last year when they started training to now, has shot over 50% from 3. So Wes Miller said, every time you touch the basketball, if you're open, let it fly. He trusts them, and he has been knocking it down, and he has turned himself into a baller. He was a walk-on. He had an opportunity to go to Cleveland State on scholarship. He said, no, I want to play big time basketball. I'll just wait my turn and get better. And he has worked himself into, like, coach, you can put me in now. I'm not a liability. He is an absolute knockdown shooter. And CJ Frederick, you leave, he's a zone buster. You leave him open, it's flying and it's going in. So, and CJ has he has a pretty shot because it's a high arcing shot, which is it's great for rebounders. When you got tall guys that can jump like Odi Aguama and Aziz and all those guys that are 2-hand rebounders, when you have a high arc on your shot, when it hits the rim and it doesn't go in, it's bouncing up in the air, which now gives your offensive rebound guys a chance to push defenders out of the way, snatch the ball, or back tip it out for another 3-point shot.
Very, very well. That's good to hear, man. I always take more shooters, right? Always take more shooters. The Big 12 Media Days just happened very recently here. The Bearcats were picked 11 out of 14 teams, only ahead of Oklahoma, BYU, and UCF. Seems like the football media days predictions have been pretty spot on here. Is 11 out of 14? Is that the ceiling for this team? It seems like it's a little
without the
disrespectful.
two bigs, that's about right. Yeah,
Okay.
but the Big 12 this year will get about 10, 11 teams in the tournament. So if long as you're in that discussion of because you can be, 7 wins in the Big 12, and be below 500, you're going to get in. Happened to West Virginia several times. So you're going to get into the tournament because it's the best tournament with the most talent. It's the best conference with the most talent in the country. So they're not going to just, put 8 teams in there because they're trying to get the other teams in. No, it's going to be a lot of teams that are one bid conference teams. Like if, you always see it in the MEAC and all these others. If guys win the regular season and then they lose in the tournament and they don't get in. They're 25-6. They're in the NIT. Well, sorry to say, but the people want to see these teams. You shouldn't be penalized because you're playing in the gauntlet of a conference. Now, with Aziz and with Jamel Reynolds, they're gonna finish higher than that. But they're gonna have to go through it. They're gonna have to play against some of these bigs. Every school has what we have and more, because they've been through it. They've been tested. They've been through the gauntlet. They know what to expect in the Big 12. Every team has bigs that can block shots and dunk, post, rim run. Every team has got guards that can shoot threes, and they're big and strong. They can get to the hole. Every team has great coaches, some Hall of Fame coaches, some will be in the Hall of Fame coaches, up-and-coming coaches, NBA talent on these rosters. Every team is going to be a big game. There's not going to be the last place team in the conference will have. I don't know what BYU has yet. I haven't done the scout on them yet. But as I'm going through my scout, I'm looking, I'm like, good gosh, yes, this guy tall, man. He's 6'7" guards, 6'5" guards, 7 feet, 6'11", so it's like, okay, everybody has their weapons, but it's just about what you do with what you have. And that's why we've been seeing a Jack B. Nimble. I told Wes Miller this yesterday. He was really hot and bothered. He fired up yesterday with his team's effort. And so he said that wasn't an act. I said that's what we call the Jack B. Nimble experience. And the coach is kind of looking at me. I said, you got a lot of fire under their ass every once in a while to get them going. And so he was like, "Oh, I like that." It's the Jack B. Nimble, baby. Well, you got to get your team ready. So not only do you got to make them go hard, make them focus and all that stuff, you got to get them mentally prepared to take a tongue lashing and stay focused, because you realize it ain't personal. But it is personal. It's not personal to the fact that, I'm not calling you out because I don't like you. I'm calling you out because I depend on you. So if I'm not depending on you, I'm not going to say nothing to you because you're not going to play anyway. So I'll just take you out and put a manager in, keep the practice going or something. But we're 12 deep, and at some point in the season, I may need you, injuries, foul trouble, whatever it is, matchup scheme. If I'm going to need you, then I'm going to need you to be mentally tough to go into Kansas, to go into, Stillwater, Oklahoma, to go into all these places that, the fans, you'll never go into a Big 12 gym and it's not sold out. You go to East Carolina, come on, man. South Florida, we had more UC fans at South Florida than South Florida had fans.
Probably more people on the team playing.
Central Florida, we had the student section was live, but that's going to change going into the Big 12 now that, so every gym that you go into is going to be sold out. It's going to be, fans calling you everything except the name on your birth certificate. You got to be mentally tough to go in there and it's like a COVID operation. You got to go in there, handle your business, get up out of there.
Absolutely. Terry, I just got a couple more questions here for you, and I certainly appreciate the time here. I know I thought I knew a lot about the basketball team. I'm learning things here left and right, so I know listeners are going to love this.
So
I got just three quick ones here, really. These come from Captain Cincy. I don't know if you've seen his work on social media, but he is the the guy who does the UC stealing their opponent's logos. So if you ever seen, a Bearcats logo that doesn't quite look right because it looks like Oklahoma or Memphis or whoever, he's the guy that draws those up, and he now part of the Catskeller Social Club that we're involved in here. So from him, can you give us one word to describe Coach Miller?
One word to describe: intense.
Love it.
Intense.
Love it. What arena will you not miss from the American Athletic Conference?
East Carolina.
Why East Carolina?
Because it's hard to get there. You just can't fly straight into East Carolina. You got to fly and then drive an hour on the bus, to get to the gym. Nobody's there. Every time we play there, it's cold, it's dank, and it's like, it was great for Wes Miller the last year because, he had 100 people come from North Carolina to watch him play. But it doesn't have much to do in the town. When we get there, Dan, whether it be Dan or Mo, whoever is part of the radio crew, we like to get out, hit a barbecue joint or a Mexican restaurant, have some beers, or we just sit at the hotel. It's just nothing to do there. It's a college town. There's nothing to do there, unless you're in college.
So flip it on you here. Same question, or not same question, but the flip side of it. What arena are you looking forward to the most in the Big 12 that isn't Fall Allen Fieldhouse?
I can't wait to get to some of the Texas. We played 6 Texas schools this year, and so we're going to have a stayover at TCU and at Houston. So the 24th of February, we'll play TCU, which, we practiced there several times last year going into the tournament. At Oklahoma will be fun. At Texas Tech, at West Virginia, at Baylor, any of those schools that you've never been to, like you want to see the heritage, how their gym looks, what alumni do they have coming to the games, how they treat their people, what do they do for halftimes, what do they do for entertainment purposes throughout the game. Because I know that at UC, we got a great product that we put on the floor, but our in-game entertainment is off the chain. The dogs, the people, the lady on the unicycle balancing cups and all that. Like we got.
I love the jump ropers, the fire.
Yeah. So we got a lot of in-game entertainment, and we put on a hell of a show at UC. So I want to see what it's like, because when we were in the AAC, we were hands down the best entertainment value that came there. Memphis had the music and all that stuff, but our entertainment value off the chain. Our dance team and cheerleaders are prettier and they're better, and they're national champions as well. So going into these places, seeing how they do it, and they want to watch us, because think about it. Our dance team and cheerleaders are national champions. Cheerleading won it again last year. Dance team is always in that discussion. I think they're like 6-time champion. The teams that used to see them, the dance teams, the cheerleaders that used to see them, they want to know what's up. They want to show us when they go down there about little things like that. Now, me being radio and some TV now, I want to see what they do to put on a show, because everybody's going to welcome us. Not the kind of welcome you kind of would expect when you let guests into your house. It's like, hey, sit over here on this couch with no cushion. That kind of welcome they're going to give us. But it's going to be fun to see.
Very, very nice. Love it. I'm excited for that as well. 2 more quick ones here.
Sure.
Fans notice when basketball alums show up to football games. The Oklahoma game this year stands out, it being the first Big 12 football game. It seemed like everyone was there. Yourself, I saw Steve Logan. I think Corey Blunt was there.
Right.
The list goes on and on and on. Is that coordinated in a group chat or something, or is it just so happens that all you guys show up on the same day?
Well, whenever we have home games, the team practices in the morning. The basketball team practices first, and they always bring recruits in. And so Wes was like, hey, man, we're going to be at practice, see if some of the guys can come. So we'll text in our text chain, hey, come to the gym, watch this. We got a recruit in there, come talk to them, then we'll take tailgate afterwards. But we always want to go. We tell the guys, look, man, don't sit at home. If you're a former player, get out, show your face, be known, make your presence felt. Just you showing up somewhere. I don't pay for drinks. I may pay for one beer when I get to everybody's, they're paying for drinks for you. They want to have a conversation with you. They want to be next to you. They want to.
Sure.
So pay it forward and go out and do something for somebody else. Your presence alone as a former athlete, showing up to those football games, is something that people want to see because, we stand up in the same little area. People come by. They want to take the new autograph is the selfie.
Yeah,
so they want to take
sure.
a selfie with you and post it. So that just lets people know that you were there, you represented. But for basketball, you want that same thing. You want those guys walking around, sitting behind the bench, signing autographs. We got a bunch of different things that we're putting together. Wes really wants to reestablish the men's basketball alumni. He wants former players involved. And so we have a small committee of different eras of people that we have a Zoom call once a month, try to get, some ideas. And I've been calling some other schools to see what they do with their alumni and try to figure out some ideas of how we're going to re-engage our guys, because Wes says we can't build a program without the people that has the bricks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
if some of them want to get some screen time here on the podcast and be involved that way, certainly send them over for this basketball season. We'd love to have more on. We've had a handful of guys on already, like yourself, DeMar Johnson we've had on, Lenny Stokes, plenty of guys, and certainly love hearing their takes on the what's going on with this version of the Bearcats. Last question here for you, Terry. The first 4 Big 12 games this season, the first 4 at BYU, number 8 versus number 18 Texas, at number 20 Baylor, and versus TCU. The football Bearcats are 0-4, and Vegas thinks we'll go 0-5 this weekend. Will the basketball Bearcats win a Big 12 game in less time than it takes the football Bearcats?
Yeah, we'll get more shots at it. So yeah, we'll get more shots at it. But that's why you play the schedule that they play to start, because once you learn how to win, it becomes contagious. And by that time, there's no place to play. I think the loudest we were at this year at Fifth Third Arena was the NIT game.
Oh, yeah.
The first game.
I was there for that. That was a great time.
Yeah, so think about it. The people that you had in the lower bowl were those who normally sit at the top.
Yeah.
And so you had student sections pretty much all around the lower bowl. And so it was a fantastic atmosphere. Even though it wasn't a sellout, it was the loudest it was on the season because of just the amount of sheer energy that's in that building. We're going to have our bite at, some really a chance to get some NCAA quality wins, some quad 1 wins with Texas and going to Baylor. I mean, these are tough places to play, even with having Texas at home. But we're going to be ready, especially if we can get our bigs here. And, we're going to have the benefit of the crowd. We're going to have guys that are chomping at the bit to get that national recognition and exposure. But these teams are ready. I mean, they've been Big 12 tested. And in the Big 12, I mean, every team is going to go home disappointed. Bob Huggins has had some great defensive teams at West Virginia, and they always keep it close, but they just never had the firepower to go out and win those games because they don't have the offensive firepower. Well, we got some offensive firepower. We just got to make sure that we get those guys to be able to score against Big 12 defense. You might be some hand checking. It may be some bumping. They're not going to call a lot of fouls around the basket when you're trying to shoot thing. So you're going to have to be able to score under duress. And then you're going to have to get back and identify who you're guarding, get into your passing lanes defensively, and then box out with aggression because they're not going to give you anything. In the Big 12, you take it. You don't get name recognition unless you're Kansas.
That's absolutely. And we're on the road there only one time against them, like you said. It's a season I'm very excited for. Definitely, you gave us a ton of stuff for fans to look out for in the near future and throughout the entire season. So I certainly appreciate your time, Terry. Love the insight as always. I know fans do as well. Anything else you want to throw out there, whether it be social media or where people can find you or look you up?
I'm in the process of starting my own podcast here pretty soon. So
okay.
But you can catch me on TNail33 on all platforms, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X. I don't even like saying X.
Yeah, it's Twitter for me, man.
Yeah, it's still Twitter. Yeah, so all the platforms, Facebook, you name it, it's TNail33.
Love it. I certainly appreciate your time, and I might see you at a football game, basketball game, or whatever. Until then, man, take it easy.
Tell your wife I said hello and hope the house is treating you well.
Well, she's got a list of things things for me to do after this, so I got to get up there and take care of it. So I'll definitely tell her you said hello.
Yes, sir, brother. All right.
All right.
Let's
I'll
see
see
you.
you.